Raider Nation, we've got some big news. If this is your first time here and you love daily Raiders updates, especially during free agency and the draft, make sure to stay tuned. Now let's get right into it. I woke up to some breaking news this morning. The Raiders have lost yet another player. Linebacker Deablo is heading to the Falcons on a 2-year, $14 million deal, with $8 million in year one, according to Ian Rappaport. Deablo, a third-round pick from 2021, had his ups and downs with the team, struggling with injuries but always showing his ability as a tackling machine. Over his career, he racked up 288 tackles, 6 pass deflections, 2 sacks, and 2 fumble recoveries. I won't lie, I was a little shocked when I heard the news. Losing another player is never easy. But when you really think about it, Deablo wasn't exactly a game-changer at linebacker. He was solid but not a difference maker. So, while this isn't a massive loss, it does impact the Raiders' depth at linebacker, especially after losing Robert Spillane, which hit harder for me than Deablo's departure. With Divine Deablo gone, that makes 4 Raiders lost in free agency: Robert Spillane, Trayvon Moehrig, Nate Hobbs, and now Deablo. I knew we couldn't keep everyone, but man, it feels like players are leaving left and right. Now the big question is, what's next for the Raiders? There are still key free agents on the table: Kalen Barnes, John Jenkins, and Marcus Epps. So we'll have to see what moves the team makes. One thing is for sure, the Raiders must address the linebacker position, both in free agency and the draft. Don't be surprised if they target a linebacker as early as the second round. Let's see what happens next. We always say the Raiders need to address the linebacker position, but let's be real, it doesn't always happen. As of right now, they haven't made any moves at that spot, but there's still time. We'll have to wait and see if they finally take action. Raider Nation, what do you think? Are you more affected by Divine Deablo leaving for the Falcons or Robert Spillane heading to the Patriots? Or are you fine with these moves? Let me know your thoughts. Now, speaking of linebackers, the Raiders did make a move late last night. According to Adam Schefter, free agent linebacker Elandon Roberts has signed a 1-year, $3 million deal with the team. Roberts is a seasoned veteran with 9 years of NFL experience. He's played for the New England Patriots, the Miami Dolphins, under Patrick Graham, ironically, and most recently, the Pittsburgh Steelers. Over his career, he's put up impressive numbers: 604 tackles, 54 tackles for loss, 14.5 sacks. Now he's bringing that experience to Las Vegas, where he'll reunite with his former teammates Christian Wilkins and Adam Butler. After losing Robert Spillane to the Patriots and Divine Deablo to the Falcons, this signing was much needed. And when you look at the numbers, this move makes a lot of sense. Spillane got a massive 3-year, $37.5 million contract, with $12.5 million per year from the Patriots. That's a huge deal. As much as I wanted him back, I don't think the Raiders were willing to go that high. Instead, they locked in Elandon Roberts for just 1 year at $3 million, a bargain compared to Spillane's contract. And here's the interesting part. When you compare their Pro Football Focus PFF grades, their numbers are nearly identical. In fact, some argue that Elandon Roberts was actually better last season. This shows that the new regime, led by Antonio Pierce, is making smart, strategic moves, focusing on value rather than overpaying. Some people might not love every decision, but looking at how they're building this team, there's a clear plan in place. Let's see what the Raiders do next. Looking at the difference in price, landing Elandon Roberts for just $3 million is an absolute steal for the Raiders. I get it. Many Raider fans are emotional about all the moves happening. It feels like we've lost a lot of key players, and honestly, we have. Now, I'm not saying Elandon Roberts is going to walk in and immediately be better than Robert Spillane. Far from it. People forget that Spillane was the heart of the defense alongside Max Crosby. He left everything on the field, played with passion, and gave 110% every single time. That's the kind of effort I hope to see from Elandon Roberts in Vegas. But of course, that remains to be seen. That said, Roberts is a tough, physical, downhill linebacker who excels against the run. His experience and consistency make him a valuable piece for the Raiders' linebacker group, especially when you consider the price tag. Now, let's be real, his coverage skills aren't great, but neither were Robert Spillane's when he was with the Raiders. It's kind of ironic. We essentially swapped one Steelers linebacker for another. But at this price, Roberts brings high upside and a legitimate chance to start in this defense. I'm not saying he's going to be a game changer, but he definitely adds much needed depth to the linebacker room. And let's be honest, after Divine Deablo packed his bags for Atlanta, the Raiders have to make more moves at linebacker. Hopefully, they address it in free agency, but if not, the NFL draft is right around the corner. Linebacker is slowly becoming a major position of need, and I trust Antonio Pierce and Tom Telesco to make the right moves and bring in the right guys. Now, moving on to some other news. Before the Elandon Roberts signing, there was another key move that went down yesterday. According to Jordan Schultz, the Raiders have made another move in the secondary, signing veteran defensive back Lonnie Johnson Jr. Johnson is a solid, experienced player with 4 career interceptions and 15 pass breakups. While he's not a star, his ability to tackle well and play in multiple positions makes him a valuable depth addition to Pete Carroll's system. Johnson has bounced around the league, playing for the Houston Texans, Kansas City Chiefs, Tennessee Titans, New Orleans Saints, and Carolina Panthers before landing in Las Vegas. His versatility to play both safety and cornerback adds stability to a developing Raiders secondary. Now, let's be honest, this isn't the kind of big-name signing that gets fans hyped, but it's still a smart move. While Johnson may not immediately crack the starting lineup, he adds depth, brings experience to special teams, and can mentor younger defensive backs. All things that fit perfectly into Carroll's long-term vision for the defense. This is a low-risk, high-upside move, and with Pete Carroll's track record of developing defensive backs, who knows? Maybe Johnson turns his career around and becomes an impact player for the Raiders. Raider Nation, what do you think? Do you like the Lonnie Johnson Jr. signing, or were you hoping for a bigger name? Now, I know free agency is in full swing, and there are still some key players out there to watch. One big name that could be on the Raiders' radar is cornerback Asante Samuel Jr. The Raiders desperately need help in the secondary, and he'd be a huge addition. Another player to watch? Wide receiver Tyler Lockett. His connection with Pete Carroll makes him an interesting option, and the Raiders could definitely use more depth at wide receiver. And hey, what if the Raiders somehow reunite with Amari Cooper? What do you think, Raider Nation? Who should the Raiders go after next? Some other names to keep an eye on? Tevin Jenkins, Mekhi Becton, J.K. Dobbins, and even Jerome Baker. But Raider Nation, I want to hear from you. Which free agents are you hoping the Raiders sign? Who do you think would be the best fit for this team? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And of course, I'll be back with more updates as soon as any big news drops. Stay tuned.